Before we get started today, I want to say thank you for every single like, comment, recommendation, and a very special thank you to my listener support group. If you like what we do here at Off the Deep End Podcast, please consider checking out the listener support tab on our channel's anchor link. Without you, we would not be able to continue the great work we're doing with these conversations, breaking down boundaries and helping heal each other by sharing our stories, our trials, our tribulations, and how we process them. Let's jump straight into this episode.
Are you thinking about making a podcast? Spotify has a platform that lets you make one, and if I can figure it out, you definitely can too. You can create your own content all in one place for free with zero hangups and even earn money as soon as you get started. Spotify lets you record and edit episodes from your phone or computer so you can go mobile, just like I enjoy to do. My favorite thing about it is that you can create video episodes if you wish and upload them to wherever podcasts are heard. You can even set up subscriptions or, if you're like me, listener support options for listeners to help you grow. I 10 out of 10 recommend the Spotify for Podcasters app. Or, why don't you just step over to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your own podcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Off the Deep Podcast. I am joined by somebody super special, and not just because he's my future brother-in-law. He's also a phenomenal human being. I could not think of anybody more suitable to look out, to be a protector, to be a great husband to my sister. And I'm so pleased to have the time with him today. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.
Awesome, man. So where did it all start for you? What was it like growing up? I got to know.
I was fortunate enough to grow up in a wonderful part of California. When most people think of California, they think of San Diego beaches or Lake Tahoe or San Francisco. I grew up right in the dang middle of it, and so takes about an hour and a half to get up to Tahoe and about 2 hours to the beach. So I kind of get the best of both worlds. But yeah, I mean, growing up here is a blessing, and then especially what I get to do for a living in the culture I was growing up in.
Yeah, man. What are your favorite parts about being in that area?
I would just say the closeness to everything. So in the winter, if you want to go up to Tahoe and snowboard, it's an hour and a half to some of the best ski resorts in the world. And then if you go down south, I mean, you can go basically anywhere within a 2 to 3, 4 hour span of driving.
Yeah, sick, man, sick. So what is your family? I know they work on wineries and they are superstars when it comes to, I would say, connoisseurs of creating this beautiful thing that so many people enjoy. Can you tell me a little bit about the process? When did you start working in that industry? Was it as a child or your teenage years?
Yeah, so I grew up my whole life. I've kind of been surrounded by the wine industry. Been going out with my grandfather when he used to work for Andy Beckstoffer up in Lake County, spending a lot of time and weekends up with him. And then also with my dad when he started off with his company, with McCarty Company before starting his company, Coalition Farm Management. I was always in the pickup driving around, getting exposed to everything going out there. So it's third generation now. So I'm the third generation now starting in the wine industry.
That's excellent. That's excellent. So what all goes into that? I mean, when I think about wine, I just think about how much it costs, and depending on how much it costs is how much of it I'm going to drink, stuff like that. So broke people problems. What is it like creating something like that?
It's a process, especially now with the labor the way it is, and it's a long process. I mean, it's a perennial crop, so you're harvesting it year after year after year. And then with the grape boom back in the 80s and 90s when everyone started planting, you can get a lifespan of 20, 30 years. Some vineyards around here are 40, 50 years old probably. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely something amazing and something I like to enjoy in my spare time. Like it's not like a lot of other crops. It takes with trees, you have about 5 years, 6 years before you can actually start producing any crop like almonds, apples. You have that span, and then with row crops, you're always replanting, chasing a crop. But with wine grapes, it's kind of a steady market because everyone likes to drink. Everyone likes to have party and have fun. So it's kind of a crop where you can get it established in 2 years, have wine on your third year, and you can have a sustainable crop with limited weather circumstances for 20, 30 years.
Wow, that's pretty wild. So one farm, how much, on in that region, how much do they produce per acre, would you say?
Depends on the variety and also depends on the winery. So some wineries care more about quantity over quality. And then say for Napa, a lot of their stuff is quality over quantity. So they would rather have less tons per acre and more diversifying factors. So like tannics, things you taste when you go into that different tier of wine. When you go to $20 to $40, there's a very big difference in what your taste profile is going to be. So average, I would say for Lodi is probably right around 9, 10 tons per acre. That's what everyone kind of shoots for in that range, unless it's a special grown variety for a small grown winery.
Yeah. Well, what are your favorite personal favorite wines out there?
My personal favorites, varieties at least, are mostly white. So right now I'm kind of on a Chenin Blanc kind of kick. I've got into that when I was working at the restaurant up in Idaho, and I've been trying to explore with that. And then also with your sister, we've been trying a bunch of new wines like Riesling, Sauv Blancs, Gewürztraminer, stuff like that. So I like whites. Your sister is kind of in the middle. I don't mind drinking reds, but they're not my favorite. If I'm gonna have to drink one, I usually drink white.
Yeah, definitely. I can get down with some red blends, but I don't know about the whole just straight at the cabs and the I don't know. That's not me.
Yes, for me, I can enjoy a glass, but when I start getting that 2, 3 glass range, it's just like not enjoyable for me after that point. So I like whites because of the easy drinking of it. It's very similar to an ice cold beer or a seltzer or anything like that. I enjoy that more than I do drinking red wine.
Definitely, definitely. So wine tasting is huge up in this area, Bothell Mill Creek type area. Is it huge down there where you're at too, or is it
Oh
just from
yeah,
perception?
yeah, it's very, very different because this is when you think of wine, you think of either France, Italy, or California, Napa, California in general. So a lot of people don't realize that a lot of California has different, we're kind of like France in a way where we have different counties or ABVs where basically you have different growing regions. We're just the same as France, Italy, all that. So Lodi, Napa, it's a war zone during harvest. Like it is tasting. Everyone wants to go sit down tasting in Lodi at about 4 to 6 o'clock because they get to see the tractors and the harvesters go down the road. So it's worse than Disneyland, I would say, sometimes during the year.
Oh
Like
man.
especially Napa. I've definitely been in the car within 4 hours of traffic during Napa during the busy time of the year.
Man, I just stay at the winery. I'm not leaving if that's the case. I'm not
Yeah.
going nowhere.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, what are your biggest takeaways from working in that industry for so long? Because obviously you've been doing this since a child. You're third generation. What are the biggest takeaways that have been instilled to you by being a third generation wine superstar creator? Harvesting. I no one knows what actually goes into these things. So let me know.
Yeah, I mean, what has been instilled with me and what I it's it kind of the wine industry kind of goes in circles. Um, and the wine industry is kind of in a particular spot because it's not beer where there's 20 million different options. And then it's not the out like the spirit industry where you have your set industry and everyone loves drinking spirits. So you're kind of in that middle of the range and it goes in a circle like right now with inflation, especially with our generation with all the options we have, we don't drink wine as much as say the baby boom generation or the generation after that. So it's definitely on a downturn right now, but it like everything was like sitting there talking to my grandfather, talking to my dad, is that it's going to turn around and like it did in the 90s, you'll start seeing higher price contracts and it's wine growing is one of those things is you're either going to sit on a high or you're going to sit on a low. And so you got to kind of ride the wave as it goes with the times.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, if you could pick one least favorite thing about the process, what would that be?
My least favorite, and this could just be like my least favorite part of wine growing was when I was an intern and we had these little like UTV, utility type ATVs where that I would go and sample. My worst time ever is driving through those fields when all the green bushy canes are out. and you're trying to get stuff done, and it's 110 degrees, and you're driving through the middle of the road, and you just get smacked in the face, and you're ducking and weaving, trying to dodge these vines so you're not getting marks all over your face.
Damn. Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, enough about that. Why don't you tell me a little about growing up? I know you're definitely an athlete. You wear your hat and your glasses like you played baseball for sure. You definitely fit the demographic. So why don't you? I know you played baseball, so tell me about that.
Yeah, so I grew up playing baseball since I was a little kid. My dad played baseball all the way up from when he was a little kid into college, and then so I kind of come from a baseball line as far as he does, because my grandparents love baseball. My dad grew up playing baseball, and then I grew up playing baseball, and so it was enjoyable. And then if you were to take a picture of me and my dad, very different two type of baseball players, different type of people. Short, athletic. My dad is me. Tall, unathletic. Yeah, just kind of clumsy a little bit. So he was a shortstop. I was a pitcher and first baseman. My dad was. We were very two different baseball players, and so we both had the. He had the opportunity to go to college and play. He played. I had the opportunity to go to college and play, and I chose not to. So very two different people in regards it comes to baseball.
Definitely. Definitely. Do you ever look back wishing you did do baseball?
Sometimes. I mean, I was predominantly I a lot of my friends that I grew up playing baseball with on my travel ball teams, because I was on a very prestigious team in the valley. There was two teams and I was on one of them. Um, Everyone on my team went to college and played a sport, either football, baseball, whatever their sport was. And I would say everyone who went and played college baseball off that team is now either in the minor leagues or playing at the major league baseball level.
Wow. Well, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I kind of chose the route of I didn't want to go to college because I grew up with I was lucky my dad did both. He did the fraternity partying aspect of college and the baseball side of college. So I never heard about the baseball side because he was running 5 to 10 miles in the morning to Turlock before baseball practice and doing all that. And then all the times I would hear about is him having all the fun, going to football games at Fresno State, which is a huge Valley ag school with a big football program down here. So when I was in my junior senior year, I decided to cut ties playing or cut ties with my dream of playing baseball in college, and just stuck to where did I want to go to college and where was the best fit for me.
Mm, definitely. I think it's important to find your own path. It's always great in life to have similarities with your family members. On the other side of that is finding out your individual path. And what you always know, you get this weird feeling that you're on your path, your course of life, right? And that's one of my favorite things to tap into when I get those feelings of destiny. Speaking of which, at what point did you know that you wanted to marry my sister? I have never ever asked you. I had to know. I have to know.
So at a point in college, I got into some trouble with the fraternity I was in, and so
Mm.
I turned to the people I knew best, and me and your sister knew each other since she started college because she asked me to show around campus, and we were friends for many years. And then when I more or less when shit hit the fan for me, I was like, hey, I need somewhere to live. Like, can I sleep? Can I like sleep on your couch for a month or so before I figure out where I'm gonna live? And then she's like, sure, no problem. And then eventually a month turned into the whole year. And at that point, when I turned to everyone I knew at college that wasn't in the system, um, and she was the only one that was willing to take me in at that point, and then also help me out in a low point of my life. She
Mm.
was always there, and so she was there, and we lived together, and then eventually that little spark happened where we started actually went from friendship to boyfriend and girlfriend, and then everything's history from there. So yeah,
Yeah.
when she basically took me in when no one else would, that was the point where I was like, wow, she actually cares for me, unlike most of these other people in college.
Mm. I know it's a great moment to have that realization, but it's also a shitty feeling to have people that you can trust, you rely on, not be there for you. Being let down by your friends, by people who you create relationships with is very unfortunate. But it's it's a necessary part of life to create that healthy balance of understanding who's really there for you and who's not. So you got to have the dark with the light.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like at that point in my life, I was like, okay, so these are not really my friends, and these are the people who actually care about me. So now it's time to just go on my lone wolf kind of vibe, and who cares about everyone else? I'm going to care about the people I like and the people I love, and that's what I'm going to associate myself with.
Awesome, man. Yeah, you definitely got it figured out. It took me I'm still learning that lesson to this day, honestly. Learning how to let go and let go, let God, as people say normally, but just for me, it's just let go. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely still working on that. I still am to this day. So now you're done with college, you graduated, and you're back with a degree in what?
Plant science.
Plant
So
science. Ooh.
plant science, crop science, same thing. That's my degree that I graduated with. But I got background in apples, cherries, wheat, canola, chickpeas, everything you could think of when I was up there. And then I also had the background of being here, so wine grapes and some certain crops down here I knew pretty well.
Well, you know what? I hope you definitely just kick the door down to that industry. I hope that one day you branch out and keep continuing to not just deal with just wine, but go on to do more and more and more. And I hope it's just absolutely endless. I hope that there's nothing but success for you, my brother. I really really love that that you went to school and developed your craft on top of the skills that you already had. Not a lot of people see an opportunity to refine their skill set by just finding out more technical stuff about it on top of their experience. And you definitely did that. So I commend you for that.
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing I've always wanted to do, and like I was very interested. Part of the reason I went to Washington before I transferred to Idaho was the fact that I was very interested in apples, and so I might get the opportunity this year to take a shot at growing some apples and see what I can do with them because we just got a new client that bought an apple orchard in Lodi. So it's going to be a fun experience trying to learn that, but I learned it for 2 years. So hopefully I retained some information while I was up there.
Oh yeah, just open up your old email if you're emailing teachers and go through all your notes and stuff.
Yeah.
So you just bought a house.
Yep.
Congratulations are in order
Thank you.
again, man. What is it like being a first time homeowner?
Eventful. I mean, most I say kids my age grew up and their parents, especially around here, they were in the housing boom of California. They went out and bought brand new houses in the 2000 housing boom for 200 grand, and it was brand new. They didn't have anything to worry about. All they had to do was pick out what they wanted. The housing market nowadays is very much different, and there's a lot of competition, and there's a lot less houses being built, and the ones that are being built are expensive for an entry level house like what me and your sister were looking for. So, it's it was a shit show to say the least. Like it was multiple offers, multiple saying no, you're gonna get outbidded, and then eventually we found a house that needed a lot of work, and we took the chance, and everything's coming together now. I mean, we're just now starting to get furniture and finish painting at that stage, and it's been 3 months, and we've been living on an air mattress upstairs in the bedroom.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's definitely remodeling, and you're doing most of the work yourself. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I've done everything in the backyard. I did all the electrical lighting work in here. I laid all the flooring upstairs except for the bathrooms. Yeah, and I did a lot of it myself.
Oh boy. Oh my goodness. Wow. Yeah. So you're definitely working some long hours right now.
Yeah, it's basically
Yeah.
I go work for 8 to 9 hours, and then I come home, and then I either paint or do whatever your sister tells me to do, and then go to sleep and redo it again.
Oh, ain't that the life? That's a strong fiance. I would call it. That's definitely more on the husband duties, definitely
Oh
than the
yeah.
fiance was, man. Oh
Yeah, I
my
didn't really
goodness.
sign up for it at the beginning.
Well, I know you and me both have been shooting already.
Yes.
So, what was it like growing up around firearms for you? Your journey to understanding the respect you have to have for a tool like that. What was it like for you?
So I grew up very differently with firearms than most people. Like say in Washington, everyone had access to semi-automatic. In California, we never really had that option. So a lot of my experiences with hunting rifles, and I recently just got in experience with that. But I grew up from a very young age shooting guns with my grandfather and my dad, and I was taught to always control the barrel of the gun, watch where you're pointing the gun, the basic safeties. And I was super young when I got my hunter safety license, so I could start actually hunting in the state of California and outside of the state of California. I don't even remember how young. I just remember going up to Calaveras with my mom, and she just got the license to go to the class with me because I was so young. They didn't want to leave me there by myself.
Mm, man. Yeah, that's young. Yeah,
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
yeah. So a lot of shotgun, a lot of rifle handling. I didn't deal with my first handguns until I was probably about 20 years old.
Damn. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely I had experience with 22s
Hmm.
and with shotguns, and I've shot black powder before I was 16. But as soon as I
Yeah.
got to 16, I looked at these other weapons and I'm like, oh my goodness. Hunting? I want to go hunting. So it's still a dream of mine to get the camo, get the
Yeah.
orange, pull out the orange, get the duck whistle and get active and go hunting one day and just chew on beef jerky and just sit out there in the cold all week.
Yeah, I mean, I remember growing up, my grandparents, I'd go spend some time helping my grandfather with the goats and the alfalfa, and they would pay me to go sit outside. They would pay me 25 cents a rabbit, I think it was 10 cents a squirrel, and I think it was $1 a coyote. And I'd sit out there all day when I wasn't working, baling hay or helping with the goats, and I would just sit out there and make the little money I was making. But as far as you wanting to hunt, I mean, we can make that happen. There's certain things you can hunt in California and don't need a license for.
Oh, good, because licenses suck. Oh man,
Yeah.
I can't stand them. Oh my goodness, like they just want all my money. They want all my money. So what is your favorite thing to hunt then? Is it buck? What is it?
I've done a lot of duck hunting growing up. I've been on a bunch of deer hunts with not just myself, but my dad's and my grandfather's. And then I've done my own antelope hunting and have done antelope hunting with my dad and my grandfather. I would say for me, they're all about the same deer. Antelope is just a different type of hunting, but I've always had the dream of going and hunting an elk. I've always wanted to go and shoot an elk. I got the privilege of going with my grandfather, who got one of the best tags in California, which is like probably 2 hours from my house, and it's one of the only places in the world you can shoot this type of elk, and it's a Thule elk, and he got to shoot one, and it was one of the best. It was the easiest hunt of my life, but it was also one of the funnest experiences I have with my grandfather hunting.
That's awesome. Wow. Something that really stood out to me that, throughout this whole conversation so far is that your family, they pass things from generation to generation, from your grandfather to your father to you. And I think that is something very important. It creates culture.
Yeah.
Passing war stories to the youth in a tribe, or teaching your grandson how to shoot a rifle responsibly. All these things, they create a foundation of what your family is supposed to have.
Mm-hmm.
These trades passed down, whether it's holidays and traditions and family songs, things you do normally. Like what is your family good at? And I really admire how you have that thing going from generation to generation, man. That's really awesome.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely like my family, and like my grandmother's getting to the age of where she starts giving me things from the house because she grew up. She's always thought of like, oh, I don't want to just die and have everyone have to, you know, deal with this. So I started getting some of the family heritage things. So I got some of the beer steins that were in my grandmother's had for a long time, and so she gave those to me for my birthday. And so we're starting to get to the point where a lot of the stuff's being passed down to now my generation and my dad from the older generation.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think that's really awesome, and that's Mima you're talking about, right?
No, it's my dad's parents. They had the beer steins because my dad's side of the family is German, more German based.
Okay.
Yeah, Mima, I got my grandfather's golf clubs from her, and so I've been using those for the last probably 5, 6 years now,
Mm.
like consistently. And so that's what I've been grew up on, was playing golf with him. And then when he passed, she gave me the golf clubs.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I really find a lot of value in passing things to the person after you, right? This person may leave the earth, but their memory, their lifestyle, their legacy, it can live on by passing down family heirlooms. And I think that's like I still have my grandpa's Bible just sitting right around the corner from me right now. Just like I don't dive into it often, but I have it. And
Yeah.
every time I see it, it's a reminder of the memories that I have with that individual. I think it's really a standout thing.
Yeah.
What about fishing? I know you love to fish. Your dad just got the boat. All right. What I love the water. I love being out on the sea. What do you think about the water?
I've always enjoyed the water. I mean, being a California kid, I mean, I don't mind swimming and doing all that. I mean, your sister, she loves the pool. I grew up with the pool. I could care less about the pool. But as far as fishing, I mean, me and my dad just started getting into fishing on our own and doing things on our own. So he bought a 32-foot Farallon boat, and we have it parked in Emeryville, which is in the Bay Area in the San Francisco Bay. And so it's been a learning curve since we bought it. So we bought it in end of October, beginning of November, and so a lot of it's been learning how to drive it, how to operate it, and then also like where to fish. I mean, we grew up going out in the bay on charter boats fishing, and now it's more of like, okay, well, we need to know where we're fishing. And so everything's been an experience. Every first time we go out and do something new, it's a first time. And
Mhm.
so we've been like schoolgirls trying to get giddy and go over there and learn new things. And so we go over there probably. We've been going over there at least twice, 3 times a month and doing things on the boat, or we just took it out of the water to get some maintenance done. But yeah, so it's been a lot of work trying to get used to how to do the boat. And so my dad's better with the fishing, so he does more of the fishing stuff, and I'm better operating the boat, moving the boat, and kind of understanding the mechanical aspect of the boat. So we kind of trade off doing things. So one day he'll back out the boat, and then the next day I'll back out the boat and stuff like that.
Awesome. Yeah, driving boats can be difficult. To me it was really natural. Because I was driving boats before I was driving cars.
Yeah,
So it's like a second nature to me. But like driving straight in a car it's definitely not straight nature to me. Definitely
yeah,
not. No, I can park something backwards. I'll pull in at like 35 miles an hour, slow down right near the end, make a couple adjustments, and bam, stop on a dime. Perfect parking. But I don't know, man. It's definitely a learning curve for me when I was learning how to drive a boat. But we had like filled rubber,
mhm,
a boat. We didn't have to worry about, but if you bump into something, you just bounce off it. It's
yeah.
not the same thing with a fiberglass hole.
No, and the other thing is like you don't have brakes on a boat, so you can't just
Oh no.
stop on a dime. No, and so like and the boat's so big, like technically when you put it on a trailer, it needs an oversized marker flag. That's how big this boat is out of the water. And so it's been a learning curve just maneuvering the boat, and it's got a pilot house, so it's like it's like a sail basically. It's like if you have any type of wind, you got to account for which way you're going to put the prop when you leave the helm because it's just going to move naturally with the wind.
Oh man. Oh,
Yeah.
that's tons of stuff, man. Tons of stuff. So I didn't have to deal with no pilot house. I was the pilot house, so
Yeah.
we just drove from there normally.
Yeah.
Well, that can definitely be interesting. What is the thing that you look forward doing? Passing on to the next generation. When one day you guys have kids, if you have kids, what is the future going to look like? What are the lessons that you're going to share with your children?
I mean, my dad started his own company to leave a legacy for his kids, and so that's been ingrained to me is that you always want to leave something for your kids. You want to teach them, and then also leave something for them. And
Mm.
obviously, you want your kids to grow up a little bit differently than what you did, but you also want them to learn how to work. So my biggest thing is like I was left a legacy, and I'm now starting to in the process of trying to buy into that legacy of the company and everything. But it didn't come like, oh, I was given to it. It's like I had to grow up young, working either at my grandfather's ranch or once I got my worker's permit through the high school, I had to go full time working with my father. And so my biggest thing to teach my kids is if you want something, you got to work for it. You're not going to be given it. I'll help out with certain things, but if you want those brand new shoes, well, come to work for me and then you can work for those brand new shoes. And then I think another cool aspect, like me and Brianna have been talking more about, especially the kids and when we want to have them and like what we want to do as far as like educating them and what we want to leave to them. A big, like one thing we've talked about is a lot of kids, like my parents paid for me to go to college, but nowadays it's easier to get loans for college, and necessarily you don't need a loan for college. And then the housing market's so terrible. So like me and Brienne said, well, while the housing market's down because it was down when I was a kid, and my parents bought a house. I'll buy the house for the kid when he's young and be like, okay, well, when you turn 18, you graduate high school. You can either have the house rent free, paid for, and all you have to do is pay some mortgage, or you can go to college and we'll sell the house and pay for that, and then you have to buy your own house. So that's kind of a ultimatum we talked about giving to our kids is buy a house when the market's down, rent it out, and then when our kids graduate from high school, be like, okay, you can either have a house spot free, or you can have a college with expense free.
Mm. Well, that's definitely something I never thought of. That's an immediate way to break this whole generational financial issue that is traversing across America. Yep, I don't know people who can cover a $500 emergency expense like that.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a brakes going out and you not having the money that week, and you wait till next week and your rotors are shot. It's as simple as that, especially in this economy. I really admire that you guys have that figured out. It sounds to me a lot like you're in the middle of the Yellowstone of the wine industry. That's what's going on. Do you
Yeah.
take people to the train station?
No,
You don't have to answer that.
don't take anyone. Don't take anyone to the train station.
Okay, I just wanted to check. Man. Well, I really love the things you're doing, man. I think it's one of my things I'm most excited about is not just your guys' wedding, obviously, but what happens after that, because that's when, the wedding is like at the top of a roller coaster, and from there it's just a downhill, exciting. Oh, we can look any direction in life. We're united in this front, and I think you and Brienne are already married at the soul. So I really do. I love that. And I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, we've been through so much. I mean, from we started dating to COVID, her basically saying, well, I need a job. Okay, well, then she drove around in a little 2000 Ford Ranger, getting stuck in the middle of fields, getting chased out of fields by emus, and then eventually just living together and then moving back up to Pullman and dealing with not having a job and stuff like that. So we've been through a lot, and it feels like we're already married, and it's just like we're going through the process of making it official now, because we've basically lived with each other for now probably 3-4 years now.
Yeah, definitely. And you two have gone through so much, especially on my side of the family. There's a lot of a lot of things to work through there. And you've been a great rock for her, and a great supporter in reminding her to look inward and find the strength in herself. So I appreciate you doing that. I don't think there's a person on this earth I could ask for to be with my sister, and to know, like, I can close my eyes at night knowing that she's in good hands and she's well protected, man. I really love you and the things that you do, and I like your values as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Well, I do appreciate your time. I think I got every single question answered. I just want to ask one more. What is one thing that could seriously improve our culture as Americans? Because I know there's so many issues that we face with the economy, division, with political things, pushing certain agendas at the expense of our rights as human beings. What is one thing that we can change as Americans to improve the culture here?
I mean, I think the number one thing is the racial divide in our country. I mean, there's a lot of, I would say there's some things that have happened, especially when me and Brianne have been out, and especially some things in our area. And that was a big point where we chose to live. Is there's some areas of California that are lesser caring for the Black community, and I was just like, well, I don't want to move up that way, so we got to move the other way. But I think our country's so divided on race and all these other things as of right now. And I think that would be the first thing I would change, is just get away from this divide of racial everything. And I mean, obviously race matters, but it doesn't matter to the point of, oh, I don't like you because you're this race. We need to get away
100%.
from that and just, we're all Americans. We're all here for each other. We just need to be together, make America great, and everything like that.
100%. And I think we can do it. That's a great place to start. When you have a strong foundation, you can build off it, but you can't look at the people on the construction site building the foundation, pouring the concrete, and say, "Hey, I don't like you because of your skin color." That's going to break one day.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, that was a many of other things. I mean, we're at a point in our country right now where it's kind of a scary time. We're going into it seems like we're going into a recession, and then along with the divide of political divide, not even the racial divide, it's the political divide as well in our country. I mean, you have people that just, oh, I don't like you. Why? Because you're a Republican or you're a Democrat or you're a libertarian or whatever you support, and they just don't like you based on what your values are politically and not what your values are as a human being or anything like that.
Yeah, that's definitely something I can get down with, man. I always think about what is best for me. Is usually tied into what's best for the people around me, my neighbors, and that's what I offer that advice to anybody who is having issues finding people they can associate with because they feel scared to bump into the wrong side of whatever aisle and not get along with somebody or be treated poorly because of their beliefs. Talk to your neighbors. You can find common ground. An easy way to find common ground is, okay, do you like keeping kids safe? Okay. Yeah, me too. Do you think we can improve the school insecurities? Yeah, we can definitely do that. Do you think that the economy is down? Yeah. Times are hard. We should probably look out for the single parents in our area. Yeah. I mean, okay, charities, vets, it's all American culture. American culture is just being here, looking out for the people next to you. That's what it's supposed to be. So I can definitely get down with that, man. Well, I definitely appreciate your time. I appreciate your insight. I had no idea that wine was such an intricate process until we were drinking one day and you were telling me the steps of it. I'm like, what the hell? All that?
Yeah.
Man, that's it. No wonder it tastes so good. There's so much going into it. There's a lot of work into it.
Yeah, there's just so much that goes into it. It's not like just growing it and you can just eat it right. You could eat it off the thing, but making the wine, the process, like the growing aspect of it has so much play in what the end product result is. So if you screw something up in the beginning of the year, it's going to be hard to fix that when they try to make wine out of it. And so a lot of the times you can taste those flaws when you have an experienced palate. You can just taste those flaws in each bottle of wine.
Yeah, it's definitely a meticulous art, or there's a meticulous nature about the creation of it for sure.
Yeah, and that's why you have different vintages because every year is not the same, and so that's why when you hear people talk about wine that are like wine snobs and everything, they talk about, oh, this bottle from 1982 was a great bottle because, and they're always talking about that bottle because it was a great growing year, and so that's the thing with wine industry. It changes every single year. So the wine's not going to be the same as it was 2 years ago or last year. It's always going to be a different style or a different taste profile.
Mm. Well, I hope this harvest is extremely fruitful. I am excited to come down there, and I'm going to drive back up here with as many different bottles of wine as physically possible. I think I don't think I'm going to be able to survive. The whole back of the vehicle is just going to be sunk back, look like a lowrider in the back. Jesus Christ, what a mess! But it's got to happen. It's got to happen.
Yeah.
And I look forward to your insight with finding which ones will be a good pair for that as well. And man, I really admire you. I appreciate you taking the time to do this, and I appreciate you shedding some light on the process of what it is. I can't wait to go down and actually see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to showing you how everything works and what we get down to do down here. And you'll be coming in at a perfect time for the wedding. It'll be a great time of the growing year to show you everything.
Awesome. Well, I'm super excited for it, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Yep.
And thank you to all my listeners. This has been another episode of Off the Deep End Podcast. As you know, he is the captain, the connoisseur of wine. Thank you so much to Brandon, and thank you for all you listening in. This has been another episode of Culture. If you want to keep this conversation going, head over to our Facebook page. Let's keep it going. And let me know your questions about wine. We'll get them answered right here and probably a different day. Much love, y'all. Take it easy. Peace.
Before we get started today, I want to say thank you for every single like, comment, recommendation, and a very special thank you to my listener support group. If you like what we do here at Off the Deep End Podcast, please consider checking out the listener support tab on our channel's anchor link. Without you, we would not be able to continue the great work we're doing with these conversations, breaking down boundaries and helping heal each other by sharing our stories, our trials, our tribulations, and how we process them. Let's jump straight into this episode.